When it comes to bonsai tools, it's hard to know what to spend your money on. In this video, I'm going to show you my 5 essential tools. I'm going to show you the tools I use, and I'm going to give you alternative cheap options that you've probably got lying around your house already. In traditional bonsai, you've got a knob cutter and a branch cutter, but I use the one in between, which is the hybrid cutter. The knob cutter has got a fully rounded edge, and the idea is that you can make a cut and it removes like a hollow concave piece out of the wood. The branch cutter, these are more like traditional pliers but with a sharpened edge, and therefore just cutting branches off. As I say, the hybrid cutter is a combination of the two, and it cuts a sort of a hollow cut, but it is also usable like a branch cutter. So for this tool, the alternative cheap option is just a pair of normal secateurs. These are Wolf, which are fairly good. They're about £15 to £20 for a pair. If you want the real good ones, you get the Falco cutters. They're about £50, £60 a pair. But you've probably just got some normal secateurs hanging around in your garage, and they'll do the job fine. What I'm going to do now is do a demonstration on this dead tree. Well, it's not dead, it's still alive, but the top's dead. And I'm going to show you the difference in the cuts between the hybrid cutters and the secateurs. For a standard cut on a branch like this, that does a perfectly good job. Cuts it nice and clean. My concave cutters, they do exactly the same job basically. Where the concave cutters really come into their own is removing a branch like this. If I was to use my secateurs, that's as close as I can get, and it leaves this kind of stump here. I can't really get in much closer than that. This branch here is dead and wants to be removed, so I'm just going to go straight in with my hybrid cutters. And it goes straight in and gets that nice clean finish. Look at that, beautiful. For a nice pair of these hybrid cutters, you can pay what you want. I think they start at probably around £30. I think these cost me about £45. They're in stainless steel, and you can go anything up to like a couple of £100. A really handy tool though. But if you're just starting out, secateurs, as you've seen, they do the job. Next up, we've got a root hook versus the chopstick. A chopstick is fairly self-explanatory, and a root hook is just a bent piece of metal. You can fashion something like this yourself if you're a bit handy, or you can pick these up really cheap. I've not got too much to say about these. You kind of need them both. If you're going to be doing bonsai work, which really means working with roots, you need a chopstick and you need a root hook to be able to get into the root ball, either do repotting or anything like that. You can make one yourself, you can buy one, but they're kind of both essential. The next one is an interesting one though, and it's the classic bonsai tool, scissors. When it comes to bonsai scissors, there's 3 main types. I'll start off with these. These are, I don't know what they're called, but they're long skinny ones, and they're for when you're getting into a larger tree, doing detailed pruning where the branches are all sticking out and you've got to work your way in between. These are root shears. They're a really solid, stout pair of scissors, and they're for chopping away at roots. You can cut through soil. They're just a really good, strong tool it's handy to have. And these are a cross between those two. They're just a general sort of multi-purpose, dead comfy to use, a sort of all-round scissor. And these are the same as those, but in stainless steel. Now then, scissors are quite an interesting subject. Of all the 5 essential bonsai tools, scissors are essential, but the bonsai scissors really are not. A nice pair of stout kitchen scissors and a small pair of craft scissors will do the job more than adequately. You can use those for years if you like. And there's some, a lot of YouTubers kind of prefer these kind of scissors because they're really comfy. I love using these bonsai scissors. To me, they fit really nicely in your hand. And it's just a pleasure to do it, but it's a luxury and it's up to you. If you've got a limited budget, I would definitely spend it on some of my other essential bonsai tools. I think it was George Orwell who said that all wire cutters are equal, but some are more equal than others. And I agree. First of all, I'm going to get rid of these pliers. These are like thin nose pliers. They've got little cutters inside. They'll chop wire away all day of any gauge. The only problem is you can only do it at the desk. You can't cut wire when it's on a tree. So in real terms, they're not really much use. We've then got the proper bonsai wire cutters, and we've got two cheaper types. A small one, which I got free when I bought some wire. They're probably £2. And these ones, which I use all the time, if you watch my videos, you'll have seen me. I think these were £10 or £11. These are fantastic. So I'm going to cut some wire on the tree and compare the two. This is a fairly thick gauge aluminium bonsai wire, about 5mm. And I'm going to cut it using the proper bonsai cutters. The beauty of them is they've got a round nose. The idea being that they don't damage the trunk when you cut the wire. So all you do is you play it over the wire and it cuts straight through. No problem. Next up, I'm going to have a go with these cheap wire cutters that you get free. Well, I say free, nothing's free, but you know what I mean. No, they will not cut that. They're just not having it. So I'll now go for me wire cutters that I paid about £10 for. They're taking quite a lot more force, but they did a nice job. As you saw on the demonstration there, you can't really get away with these little cheap things. They're just not up to the job. The pliers, there's no way they're cutting that wire off. So it's between these two. And these are better. They do the job better. But will these work? Absolutely. And for £10, there's no problem. And to be honest, you're rarely cutting off 5mm wire. Most of the time, I'll just uncoil 5mm wire. And when it comes down to the thinner gauges, like 1.5mm, these sometimes actually, they outperform these for me. You can just get in and just nip wire away. So you make the decision. Ideally, you buy both. The last tool we're talking about are pliers. So we've got just standard sort of electrician's pliers, a long nose plier, and a specific bonsai tool, and these are called gin pliers. Before I talk about the pliers, I have got a couple of extra bonus tools that I'm going to talk about after these. The long nose thin pliers, they're handy when you're doing just very fine wire work, and in some ways they can actually outperform the gin pliers just because of how dexterous they are and how fine. So they are a handy thing to have. Now, of these two, the gin pliers definitely do a better job. Because of the leverage, they've just got so much more grip strength. I do a lot of heavy wiring on my trunks, and I often use both of the tools at the same time. But are these essential? I would say no. Are they handy? Definitely. Before I uncoil the wire, I just want to make the demonstration about cutting the wire using pliers. When it's easily accessible like this, they make mincemeat of it. They really do. When I want to remove wire like this, what I often do is I grip the wire on one side and I use the pliers to bend like this. So this would be a very, very difficult thing to do just with your hands. And it's actually the gin pliers that are doing some amazing gripping on here. And this is where they're invaluable really. So I'm just going to do a quick recap. Cutting off major branches, you absolutely need something like a pair of hybrid cutters. I love them, they're my number one tool, I wouldn't be without them. You've probably got secateurs, but you need those as well. For root work, you need both tools. Scissors, you can definitely get away with just a normal pair of scissors. Depends how much you want to spend on cutting wire. Minimum £10, spend as much as you want. And for pliers, a bit of a luxury, but they make the job so much easier. But until you got those, you can get away with just not using normal pliers. And now let's take a look at these bonus tools. The 4 little bonus tools, obviously some type of Stanley knife. This blade's a bit knackered to be honest, but any kind of craft knife, Stanley knife will do the job. A brush for applying rooting hormone if you're doing air layers. A branch bender, which is a really interesting little tool for bending branches. I've got a video on using a branch bender. And these monsters, they're called branch splitters, and you can use them for splitting large trunks or branches, and they can be quite handy. I've not done too much with them yet, but I'm looking forward to using these. They were some of my thoughts on bonsai equipment. I hope you've enjoyed it and got some useful information. The main thing I'd like to get across to you is don't let equipment hold you back from starting your bonsai journey. Get to the garden centre, buy yourself some small trees, go in the garden, dig up some seedlings and start doing bonsai yourself. You've got the equipment already in your kitchen cupboard, in your garden shed, and then you can add to that Christmases and birthdays and build up your collection. If you've enjoyed this video and you think you'd like to see more, hit subscribe and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Have a great day.